So hello, we are going to interview today this man. What's your name first and where are you from?
My name is Andreas Jacek and I am from Germany.
And in which other countries have you worked before besides Mexico?
I've been working in Argentina, Colombia, basically all countries in Latin America.
Great. Which were your roles in the countries you mentioned?
First, I worked as a sales director for a German company in Latin America. I was supervising distributors and taking care of daily business in Latin America.
Great. Is being a global leader a hard job or not, and why?
Being a global leader is a hard job. You have to dedicate a lot of time and effort to support your people, to motivate your people. We have to lead us by example.
What are the necessary competences a manager should have when working in a different country, as you did?
I think the most basic competence is, first of all, language. If you don't speak the language of the country, you're lost, basically. You have to speak the language of the country we're working in. You have to be dedicated to your job. You have to do what your job requires. People are expecting a lot of you from the company, from the suppliers, from the manufacturers, and you're sitting always in the middle, getting pressure from the manufacturers and pressure from the distributors, and you have to manage this.
Okay, great. And what are the main differences between countries in the way of motivating people you have seen?
Differences between countries in the way of motivating people. There are some cultural differences between countries. Doing business in Brazil is different than doing business in Colombia, for example. You have to adapt to this kind of different aspects, cultural aspects of each country. But if you have, let's say, a good role, a good raw model of yourself, you can introduce this kind of model into their countries, into their business.
So, and have you adopted once these ways of motivating people?
Absolutely. The thing is, I'm German. I can't deny that. And we have an education which is very broad and has a very wide horizon. So this is a big advantage. That's really a tremendous advantage because we know a lot of stuff. And in my professional training, we are working very structured, very square. And this square structure creates some kind of reliance on your work. People rely on you because they know they can rely on you and you will respond. I generally answer all emails within an hour. I don't have emails backlogged or whatever. Maybe I'm waiting for an answer from a supplier, whatever. But I tell them, hey, I'm coming back, I'm behind you. So you have to adapt to the local mentalities or the local culture, but you cannot deny that your own culture actually is beneficial, or your own education is beneficial to the things you're doing in these countries.
Yes, of course. And for example, when doing a negotiation with a foreigner, what is the most important recommendation you can give according to your own experience? In the meaning of negotiating with another culture.
I'm a person which generally trusts people. There is not a negotiation generally starts with mutual trust. Generally, two people meet and they don't know each other, so there is not much, let's say, trust between each other. So I generally base my relationship with companies or with executives of companies, based on trust. The people know me a long time, and it's very easy for me to negotiate things because they know that they can rely on me.
Yes, of course. So how does ethics change according to the country you've been working on?
There are big differences, absolutely.
For example, Mexico or Latin America and Europe in general.
It's difficult because it's very specific to the field of work I'm doing. We are working with doctors, we are working with surgeons. There is a problem, ethical problems, lots of times in Argentina, for example, where it's very common that doctors are getting a kickback in order to use a certain product, which is legal in Argentina, but it's forbidden in Brazil, and in Mexico it's happening. In Monterrey, especially in the northern Mexico, it is not happening in Guadalajara as much.
Okay, so what should be the main talent a cultural manager should have?
Languages, absolutely. Everything you do in a foreign country is based on the fact, or you achieve in a country is based on the fact that you speak the language, and by speaking the language, you understand the culture and you understand the background. You are giving your opponent or your dealer or your company you're working with far better level ground to work with them than lots of companies, lots of directors of companies don't speak very well English. So this is actually a complete setback for them if you come there and you can't communicate. You have to translate or whatever. This is not good for creating a personal relationship. So based on languages, you can understand the culture. If you don't understand the language, you will not understand the culture.
And for example, what activity do you think that can bring cultures together, like two cultures together?
What we are doing very frequently is training surgeons, for example, from Mexico or from all Latin America and Germany. So they get to know how a hospital works in Germany, how the surgeons works, how the work climate is working. So, and they bring a lot of ideas back into their own hospitals and try to apply these new technologies or more efficient technologies in Mexico.
Yes. So how's the decision making changes according to the country?
Oh, that's I don't know if they change much from country to country. It's more difficult structural problem of the companies itself. Some countries need a little bit more time because they have to get import licenses and sanitary registrations, and they need to make a lot of paperwork before they can take a decision, I will put this product on the market. So in case of Mexico, for example, we need, as I told you, we need 1.5 years, 2 years to get a product approved to be introduced in Mexico. So if the product in 2 years, in 2019 or 2020, is still relevant for the market, I don't know. So we are working blind in some way.
And said everything else, have you ever been an expatriate?
I am an expatriate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And have you ever had the experience of managing expatriates as an expatriate?
Yes, I have right now 2 people from Colombia working in my company since a long time.
Mm-hmm. And what's the profile of the expatriate you're seeking, or you have?
I was. It's not a specific profile I was looking for. We had actually 3 people from Colombia in my company. We still have 2. One of them went to be a dealer, so we're still working with them together. The advantage of the Colombians specifically is that they have a very good school on surgical instrumentation. Here in Mexico, we have nursing schools, like school for infirmary, but it's nursing, like taking care of people and putting bandages on. But in Colombia, they have a university degree for surgical instrumentation, which is not nursing. It's a technical profession. And these people are very, very good in the operating room. They know the product, they're very technical. And if they have yet a degree in marketing or something like that, these are the ideal salesperson for medical products.
Yes, of course. And for example, if one of them has a spouse, what would you do to bring them here?
Actually, this happened. Exactly this same scheme. We brought one girl, one surgical technician, one nurse, surgical nurse, up from Colombia, and she was married. She worked 3-4 months, and then her husband came over to Mexico, and he couldn't get his. He's a dental doctor. He's a dentist. But he couldn't get his studies revalidated in Mexico, so he was out of job. He couldn't get a work in Mexico as dentist. So I was talking to him a little bit what he was doing in Colombia, and resulted that he was responsible for quality control as dentist of quality control in several dental clinics in Colombia. So quality of patient attention, whatever. Yeah. So I hired him. It's okay. You will help us. You will implement ISO 9001 in my company. Yeah. And he started to be our quality manager, and he's still with us. But now he is a sales director for Central Mexico.
Great.
So we have a wife and husband working in the company, but this is really an exception because right now we have a policy in the company not to hire family members at all. Yeah. But this was 10 years ago, so we couldn't apply that to them. But right now we don't hire any more family members because of problems which might occur, which have not occurred yet.
Okay. And how do you feel when working with multicultural teams? Do you like it, and why?
Let's say I'm working daily with multicultural teams. I have to talk every day with dealers in Latin America, with companies all over Latin America and Germany, and everybody has a certain way of doing his job, and it's very interesting to learn from them. It's when I travel to Brazil or I travel to Argentina or Colombia, and it's not only that I try to convince them of something, of buying something, but I see also how their company is organized and how they do solve a certain problem. And actually, I implement this in my company the next week.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's a mutual learning thing. We are getting a lot of dealers from Latin America to our office in Guadalajara for training, not only technical training or product training, but how a sanitary stock warehouse is organized, how we do things, how we manage inventory, whatever. We are teaching this very basic stuff.
Okay. And the last one, have you ever had some kind of problem regarding communication of verbal, non-verbal, and written when working in another country with a different language? I mean, you already said.
No, actually not, because in international business you have to speak languages. And I speak German, I speak English, I speak French, I speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese, and the languages I speak is proficient. So there is actually no big communication problem at all. Therefore, it's so important not to stay only with one language, with English or whatever, but to go outer, to go wider out. It gives you a unique opportunity to do business. If I would have learned Chinese or Mandarin or whatever, I certainly would have ended up in China.
Yeah, of course. So that was it. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for everything in your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.